video I'm going to speak about fear, because I feel that a lot of people are on YouTube and there's a lot of teachers and there's loads of stuff out there that hasn't spoken about what I'm going to speak about. They don't really explain what it entails for a person who's frightened to face their fear in their life, in any situation in life. And sometimes they don't, there's so many videos that would just go, face your fears. And I know I've said that in videos because it's good advice, that's what you've got to do. But sometimes that's not enough. That's not enough to get a person to do that. You have to really understand what a person goes through when they're frightened of something, and how that affects them, and how that disables so many people mentally and emotionally from taking that step forward in their life and taking the action. I've got a lifetime's worth of experience with facing a lot of fears, and I've also got loads of years, or the other half of my life to start, where I used to never face fear. I was really scared. I would always back out and avoid fearful situations. So I'm coming from the perspective of how many people feel now that come on my YouTube channel, and I also have the experience from facing fears in my own life myself and achieving a lot of success and getting myself out of predicaments in my life where I was completely depressed and unhappy and didn't even want to really live in many moments and situations, and then getting myself out of that and being the happiest man on planet Earth, and changing my life and having the things that I want. And I've also taught thousands of students over the years in real life, in person, and pushed them to step over that line of fear and help them to become successful in their life. So a lot of some of the clients I've worked with over the years, just going off the top of my head, the memories, some of them have been a lot more successful than I have in their relationships, which is great. So some of them have surpassed my excuse me, sorry, the phone, fear. They've got married, they've started a family, something that I haven't been able to do at the moment. So that's been, I don't know what you say, that's been life-changing for them, right? It made me happy, they're happy. Okay, so let's start off by talking about something that doesn't get spoken about enough. Emotions. That's what people are frightened of. That's what I've been terrified of. That's what I was scared of many times, especially for men. Let me explain. So a lot of men out there are scared of, they're single, they're not happy that they're single, they would like a girlfriend, and they are too scared to speak to women or to ask a woman out in any social situation, right? It doesn't matter, at school, at work, at university, in a shop, in a bar, in a nightclub, in a park, in a gathering, even at a church, because in some churches, a lot of churches, they do socials. They even do like Christian single nights. I've been to a couple, or in any faith, right? I'm just trying to give you examples of every social situation on the tube. So why is it a lot of men can't bring themselves to ask a woman out? Well, the obvious one would say, because they're scared. Yeah, that's true, but beyond that, what are they scared of? Well, they're scared that a woman will reject them and say, no, I don't want to go out with you, or I'm not interested in you, I've got a boyfriend. Okay, beyond that, why is that scary? Why would that be scary? When you think about it, it's not life and death if you walked up to a woman and you started a conversation and said, would you like to come out with me on a date, or for dinner or a drink? And she said, I'm afraid I'm going to have to say no, because I'm not interested in going out with you in that way, but thanks for talking to me, or I've got a boyfriend, or I'm busy, I can't speak. When you think of it like that, you think, that doesn't sound that bad. It wouldn't kill you. You wouldn't die from that. I don't think anyone's died from asking a woman out. It's unlikely, right? So you think about it on a practical level, and it doesn't seem that bad. But what you don't understand is it's what it brings up for that person, that individual. Emotionally, it's going to not feel nice in the moment, but when that guy goes home and leaves that day, and obviously that woman goes back into her life, it doesn't end. He's faced his fear, yeah, he's been rejected. The pain, what that brings up. When he goes home that night, probably not going to sleep very well. He'll be thinking about, I'm not good enough, this is why it's happened to me, I'm less of a person, other men are better than me. He's going to going to feel a sense of shame, he's going to feel hurt, he's going to feel abandoned, rejected. Those emotions are torturous for a person to feel. And it probably will definitely bring up the past. He's not only going to think about that woman that's turned him down and he's not good enough, he's probably going to go back into the past. His mind's going to do it and think about all the other people that have rejected him, or women, or men. And he's going to think about things in his life where he's failed. He's going to give himself a really hard time. And that can go on for ages. That doesn't always just pass in an evening. That can spiral into 6 months of depression. So this is something that a lot of people don't speak about. And I know, because these are the things that happened to me, that I went through. Obviously, I'm always going to give you a solution, because there is a solution. But what I'm saying is, this is probably a more compassionate cowards videos, because even I'm only human, right? Sometimes I get impatient. I'm like, why are these men being cowards? What's wrong with people? But I've had some time to reflect, and it is hard for people. Sometimes it's so hard for me, and I've got a lot of experience, to confront certain fears that we're petrified of facing. Social fears, social situations, meeting people, relationship fears, financial, because of how it makes us feel, what it brings up, and we don't know how long those emotions are going to last. So facing a fear can ultimately trigger a depression, right? This is not always the case, but in a lot of cases it is. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not always fully explained and understood how a person is meant to face a fear that they're frightened of. What's also not explained is what I've just been explaining what I just said now, that whole, what do you call it? I can't remember the name anyway. It's what it entails, it's what that person has to go through to get to the other side. Now, okay, the solution. After he takes that sting, that he gets knocked back by a woman, right? And that's just one analogy. Let me give you another analogy. I don't want people to just think, it's just about dating. Let's say, for example, a shy person who suffers with very, very severe social anxiety and is very, very scared of people and not comfortable in any social situations. He pushes himself, which is great, and he goes to a social meetup to confront his social fear. And when he gets there, he gets triggered and he's paralyzed with anxiety and fear, and he's not really able to speak properly because he's going to start stuttering or stammering, and he's having trouble holding eye contact with people at the event because of the social phobia and the anxiety and the fear of being judged and making a social mistake. That's extremely painful for that young man or individual to go through. In that moment, it's uncomfortable emotion, it hurts, physically, emotional pain from the fear that it triggers psychologically, mentally and emotionally. So even though what he's done is phenomenally brave, both accounts of, like, the guy I said who approached the lady and asked her out, she said no, that's really brave, that's courage to do that. The guy who's gone to a social event, now he comes away from that social event, goes home and feels bad about himself. Reason being, because he doesn't feel that he performed in the way that he hoped he would. Example, he wasn't able to be more socially relaxed because maybe it's his first time at an event. So when he goes home, all these emotions are triggered: sadness, shame, embarrassment, feelings of not being good enough. Now can you understand my point? Can a lot of you understand what it actually fully entails for any individual to confront their fears in their life so they can eventually gain the confidence, learn to relax more and get the result? So this is the real reason, this is the truth as to why so many people are living in tremendous fear, and they're not able to break out of it. They're not able to even just try to take action, like those two analogies I gave. Another analogy, I have to understand that I've been making YouTube videos now for almost 10 years, so obviously I've had a tremendous amount of positive feedback. A lot of people like my videos, a lot of people like me, a lot of people like things I've said. So that's given me a lot of validation, and I've got that love back and that approval. So that builds self-esteem. You can't deny that. I've also obviously had criticism, so I've learnt to deal with that over the years. Some people say nasty things. But during the time of me making these videos, I've grown so much and gain a lot of confidence. But I had those pitfalls. I had those times when I started out where I made videos on YouTube and I didn't want to watch them back, or I saw some clips back and I felt embarrassed about how I looked, how I came across. I didn't feel good about the video, even though sometimes people would say good things or someone would say bad things. And it would bring up a lot of stuff for me from my past. It would say, you know, see, I told you that you're not good enough. You've always been a social embarrassment. You're an embarrassment at school. You've been an embarrassment around your family. And you've been an embarrassment around women. Even though that's actually not fundamentally true, I still felt like that. That still came up for me. You know, so the YouTube video that I made, even though some people did like it, it triggered me. I couldn't stop it. I had no control over that. And I had to deal with that behind the scenes when no one knew that was going on. It's only me, because I'm the one who's feeling it inside. So I have to process that, and I can't sleep for several nights because I'm worried about it and I'm beating myself up, and I'm having to think about things in the past that I don't want to think about. Moving on, obviously, because I've found the strength over a period of time, I've not let it made me quit and beat me. So I've continued making videos, and then I've had a breakthrough. And for whatever reason, on this particular day, I felt so good about myself. And the video that I've made, I've loved it. And I've been able to watch the video back and actually be proud of who I am, and not look at myself on the camera and go, I look terrible, I look ugly, I look ashamed, look how I speak. I've not had that relationship. Something's changed, it's shifted. And I felt so confident about myself. And I'm like, that's the person I want to be. That's the way I want to behave. That's how I want to conduct myself. And people have also gave me, it's been a massive, a lot of love back from people. They've loved the video, they love what I said, and it's inspired people and it's made them feel good about themselves. But to get to that point, like I've been describing in this video, I had to go through hell. I had to go through torture emotionally. I had to go through panic attacks and sleepless nights. And there was no other way I could have done it. I could have got to this point where, for some reason, thank God, today feels really good on camera. I feel really good about myself. I just feel good. But I don't always feel like this. And that's because during the lockdown, I've faced a lot of, terror, same as you guys, or terrifying fears about myself, doing a lot of accountability, reflecting on some things in the past that I don't like thinking about, but I've had to go there to heal up, toughen up, and find some happiness again, help other people. So I really wanted to help people, make them understand this, not to put people off, to actually encourage people and inspire them to face their fears, but to give them the wisdom and the knowledge. And I know that everyone's going to go, we already knew this, Johnny, deep down, but it was hard to admit it. Hopefully, when I admit it, it will make you admit it. Because that's what we do. Usually, we go online, we look for other people that we can relate to, who can make us feel better about not feeling good enough, or being scared in a situation, or feeling like. And when they share their story with us, because we've seen they're successful, that's common knowledge. They've made loads of money, or they've got loads of views on YouTube, or they're being interviewed on all these top podcast shows. When they say to us, oh my God, I was nervous, I was scared before this, we feel so relieved, because then we go, oh, I'm not the only one, and there's nothing really wrong with me. Other people feel fear, everyone feels it. And every single living human being has gone through what I just described with the emotional turmoil at some point in their life. Fighters go through it, boxers. Obviously, a lot of them lie at the start to promote themselves, to maintain their image and the tough guy. But usually when they retire, a lot of boxers will admit and open up and go, I was petrified before I fought that world title fight. A lot of boxers lose weight. They lose more weight than they should because of anxiety and stress. It's happened to me loads of times. I've lost half a stone in a week from worrying about a public talk that I have to give for an event, because I'm nervous about it and I'm stressed. I can't stop my, whatever you call it, my system's working, my nervous system, my fight or flight. And then in most cases when I've done the talk, it goes really well. So this is what people struggle to deal with. It's what it brings up. It's these emotions. Sometimes they don't last long, it's not every single fear is going to make you feel the way I've just described, but many of them will, especially when you're starting new things. So relationships, when someone meets someone, when a man and a woman meet each other and they like each other and they start dating, to go to the next step is tremendously fearful for both parties, the man and the woman, for many reasons. They're very scared to take that next step and go from dating and liking each other and seeing each other to actually being more serious, because the obvious fears, the fears of being hurt, that's the main one. The fears that the other person will stop loving them, will change their mind, and that will hurt. So we're afraid of being hurt emotionally, because when you get hurt emotionally, it brings up darkness, sadness, loneliness. It's horrible. I know this stuff's horrible, man. I don't want to depress people, but it's the truth. What can you do? It's better to be honest about it, so people can actually. There is light at the end of the tunnel always. Once you go through it, you do get to the other side of it. But that is not an easy journey. But I've always encouraged people to face the fear and do it, because it is worth it in the end. The rewards are worth it, but they're certainly not easy to get there, and you do have to go through hell and back emotionally to achieve anything of any happiness and significance. I think, like I said before, the reason why I believe, I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, why a lot of teachers and people online or people on TV or people just from day to day, the reason why they don't admit what I'm admitting today and say it, because they're too frightened about other people judging them for their weaknesses or that level of honesty. They're too scared to be that truthful. So it's a lot easier to beat around the bush, or beat around, tiptoe around the truth, and just say, oh yeah, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but I faced my fear and then everything worked out. I achieved my success. It's like, really, that's not true. You've watered it down. You've not told the full extent, because you want to maybe position yourself as being a lot less scared than you are. But that ain't really going to help a lot of people, because then no one's going to relate to you. And when they get into a situation, they're going to be so overwhelmed, they're going to back out, because they feel something's wrong. So there's nothing wrong with you to feel these things. They're all normal psychologically, even though we feel such a complex range of emotions for many reasons. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. There's many highs. There's incredible happiness that I've experienced, and that you will, from facing fear. And it isn't always as difficult as I've described, but it will be at some point. And it's better that you're prepared for it and that you know what is going to happen, because then you can deal with it better and become stronger, and not allow it to completely overwhelm you. So this is a lesson on fear in any area of life, in any situation, whatever brings up your fear. And this is one of my biggest joys at the moment, guys, I'll be honest with you, because I've got my own fears. I've got so much knowledge and wisdom in my brain, in my life, that I know if I share it with people, it will help people so much. But I have fear as well. I have lots of anxiety and fear and resistance and a reluctance to talk about this stuff online and to share it. And sometimes I'm like, why do I care? And let me explain why. Let me just explain something. I probably got to a point where I don't really care very much what people think, because most of the people who would say I'm never going to see them in my life, it's just comments online. A lot of that stuff I don't read anyway. What I am frightened about is what I've just described. What you're frightened about is what it's going to bring up for me. When I do the video and I say all this stuff and it's all true and I speak from the heart and I tell people what they've got to go through, what I went through, how I feel, good, bad and indifferent. When I shut the camera and upload the video and I go back into my life, it doesn't end then. It doesn't end then. I have to be honest and open about that, because it's going to bring some stuff up for me. There's going to be some, it just brings stuff up, and it's going to bring some good stuff up, because as I said today, I feel really good doing this video, you could probably tell. My hair is mental though, but that's because I've been in lockdown, I've just washed my hair, right? That doesn't really matter. But it will bring some stuff up. But everyone's like that. So we often don't speak about what fear brings up for us before we face it and after we face it. Of course, as Teddy Atlas says, he's right. we always think when we're in a fearful situation, or when we're suffering emotionally, or we're depressed, or we've had a breakup, this feeling is gonna, oh man, it's gonna last forever. It never does. He's completely right, Teddy Atlas. He's great wisdom from him. Check his podcast out. Mike Tyson, legendary trainer who trained Mike Tyson years ago and trained quite a few, many world champions, Povetkin being one. There's some others I can't remember right now. He's right. It never ever stays forever, but it still doesn't stop people from, oh, I can't face that. So you do have to learn to be emotionally really strong. And I don't know how I've achieved some of the things I've done, because I never considered myself, when I was younger back then, when I struggled at school, as a strong person. I was considered myself very weak, but I proved that to be untrue through the practice of everything I've just explained to you, changing my mindset and pushing myself, and not quitting, you know, when things don't work out, or when things do work out. I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of complexity around fear we don't speak about. The fact that we're also scared of things working out. It's scary. One of my biggest fears in my life. I'm scared when things start working out and going well, and I feel happy and everything starts fitting into place, because it's like, oh, what if it goes wrong again? Or this is overwhelming. So much excitement and love, and I'm in a relationship, I'm in love with a woman, I'm inspiring people, I'm being looked upon as an inspiration, I'm this, I'm that. Wow, I've got great friends, I've got my own place, life's going well, I've got money in the bank, it's wonderful, yeah, I wish everyone to have it, but it brings up lots of fear for me. It makes me frightened, and if people say, why? I've just explained it. It brings stuff up. The fear of responsibility is emotionally overwhelming. So the main gist of this video is we're afraid of our own emotions, all right? So I believe you'll get a lot out of this video, even if, right, this video wasn't necessarily about telling you to take action, even though I always do in every video. I really wanted to make this video more to give you the sense of relief that you're not the only one, and everyone feels like this. It's just that not everyone's as honest as I am, and you are, and Teddy Atlas and others, and David Goggins, and the list goes on and on. Now you've got the education that will empower you. Now you can choose what you want to do with it, all right? Become fearless, like, subscribe to the channel. Let's have a conversation in the box below about this. I love this topic.